Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Janatiravana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Upi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatiravana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Upi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatiravana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Upi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatiravana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatiravana Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama 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 Hari Hari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada ki, Radha Govinda Deva ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamundirayet Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for coming today. Before I start speaking, I'm seeking for all of your blessings. Please bless me so that I can say something pleasurable to their lordships, Radha Govinda Deva, something that is in line with the parampara, and in this way we dive into the Srimad Bhāgavatam once again, 3rd canto, 29th chapter, text 36. Please chant after me. Etad Bhagavato Rupam Brahmana Paramatmanaha Param Pardhanam Purusham Daivam Karma Vicheshtitam Etad Bhagavato Rupam Brahmana Paramatmanaha Param Pardhanam Purusham Daivam Karma Vicheshtitam Etad Bhagavato Rupam Brahmana Paramatmanaha Param Pradhanam Purusham Daivam Karma Vicheshtitam. Etad Bhagavato Rupam Brahmana Paramatmanaha Param Pradhanam Purusham vicheshtitam. Ida Bhagavato Rupam. Ida Bhagavato Rupam. Eda Bhagavato Rupam Brahmanavaramatam Param Brahman Purusham Devam Karma Vicheshtitam. Synonyms. Etat, this, Bhagavataha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rupam, form. Brahmanaha, of Brahman. Paramatmanaha, of Paramatma. Param, transcendental. Pradhanam, chief. Purusham, personality. Daivam, spiritual. Karma vicheshtitam, whose activities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Keep track. This Purusha whom the individual soul must approach is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramatma. He is the transcendental chief personality and his activities are all spiritual. Purport. In order to distinguish the personality whom the individual soul must approach, it is described herein that this Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living entities and is the ultimate form of the impersonal Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation. Since he is the origin of Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation, he is described herewith as the chief personality. It is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam. There are many eternal living entities, but he is the chief maintainer. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita also, where Lord Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. I am the origin of everything, including the Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestations. His activities are transcendental as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. The activities and the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are transcendental. They are not to be considered material. Anyone who knows this fact, the appearance, disappearance, and activities of the Lord are beyond material activities or material conception, is liberated. Yoveti tatvataha tyatvadeham punarjanma. Such a person, after quitting his body, does not come back again to this material world, but goes to the Supreme Person. It is confirmed here, Purusha Purusham Vrajet. The living entity goes to the Supreme Personality simply by understanding his transcendental nature and activities. Translation once again. This Purusha whom the individual soul must approach is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramatma. He is the transcendental chief personality and his activities are all spiritual. Very beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada, who is explaining once again the supreme position of Krishna. Bhagavan, or the last word of spiritual realization, which means the person who possesses all the opulences in the world. This position is the supreme understanding of the absolute truth, and as it is explained here, it is superior to Brahman and even to Paramatma. This is very, very clearly stated many times in the Vedic scriptures, because it is a very important point to understand, because many people in the world, they have some conception of the Supreme. Just by observing nature, one can come with his own intelligence to the conclusion that, of course, there is some superior arrangement, there is some supreme intelligence that is binding all together, that is moving all these phenomena around. It is by the rains that we were able to eat. It is by the fertility of the ground that we are able to harvest, to have good produce, to survive. So many people, they come to this conclusion, they develop some faith. They see the thunderstorms, they become struck in awe and reverence, and they develop some faith, and they worship the Supreme in this way. But this is just a mediocre understanding. It's the preliminary understanding of the supreme form of Krishna, which is beyond, and which is the primal, the source of these lower manifestations of his opulence. Form is always superior to formlessness. We cannot have a relationship with the void. We cannot have a relationship with some beaming light coming from the sky. We cannot have a relationship with a cloud. Or maybe we cannot have a fulfilling relationship. Maybe that is even better explained. It has no meaning. Even in our lives, we are always having a relationship with personalities. It is explained how the human being, every living being, will look for relationships of service. If you have a family, you have a relationship with your father, with your mother, or your spouse. Or maybe you have friends. You have a friend which you can invite to a Kirtan festival, offer him a drink, and so forth. You know, there is this inherent propensity to serve and to have a relationship with living entities. Or the king or the president of the country, who is also having a relationship with all of the citizens, so he's serving them, he's protecting them, and so forth. And if all of these things are absent, we can see that nowadays it's very prominent in society. People isolate themselves more and more. They're victim of impersonalism, and they just get some pets, some dogs or cats at their home, again for the same purpose, because we need relationships. That is what sustains our existence. Otherwise, there is no meaning. So this is something very important for us to understand, because there is always a tendency to fall into impersonalism, to love things instead of people. Things are meant to be used. They're not meant to be loved, ultimately. Love is for people, and ultimately for the Supreme Person. That is where our dormant love has to ultimately be placed in order to completely satisfy the soul, the being. And if we look into the world, there are so many powerful creatures that exhibit a variety of opulences. But who can say, I am the strongest? There will always be somebody stronger than you. You can beat up many people, but at one point you'll get beaten up. That's how it goes. Every fighter knows that. We can win so many times. Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, they won so many matches, but then, they also lost. And even if you have all these opulences, even if you're very rich, very beautiful, very famous, then after some time, how long are you going to be famous? After some time, you get replaced from the younger ones. You become old and grumpy and ugly. So time takes away everything. Who can say, I am the strongest? Who can say, I have so much? Time will take everything. So this is the main difference between the small living entities and Bhagavan, the Supreme. He has all the opulences at an unlimited proportion, and they are not just unlimited. Unlimited means they are continuously growing. His opulences, his names, his fame, his beauty is constantly growing. And Ananta Shesh, who has thousands of hoods, of heads, he cannot glorify enough the opulences of Krishna because they're constantly growing and growing. So Srila Prabhupada, he stressed this point very frequently, denoting the Supreme Chief Personality as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original blueprint. His existence is the blueprint of all the other existences in the world. Everything is created from his own form, even our form and the forms of all other living entities. All the elements, they're all coming from him. Sarva Karana Karana, he is the cause of all causes. He's the primeval cause. This is the definition that we are understanding from the scriptures. And this is another very interesting thing, the super excellence of the Vedic philosophy, which is giving us full knowledge and minute details in the matter of understanding the supreme transcendence. There is no room for speculation. Everything is there. Everything is explained. How karma works, who we are, why we're here, who is Krishna, what is our relationship, why bad things happen to good people, and all these questions. They're all answered. There's no need to speculate. They say that speculation is deadly. It's very dangerous. So we just have to open ourselves and understand the scriptures, understand the supremacy of Krishna. Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam. There are so many living entities, eternal living entities in the world, and they are all being supplied by the one chief living entity. He is the only supplier of all the desires of everybody else. Man proposes, God disposes. So that one supreme God is Govinda, who is standing here with us even now. And the living entities, Mama Ivamsho Jivaloke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manashashtani Indriyani, Prakriti Stani Karshati. Eternal fragmental parts who are conditioned, who can become conditioned by material nature, struggling with their senses in this miserable existence. We are subordinate to the living entity in this relationship of service. And there is no escape from this reality. This cannot be changed. This is something that is inherent, or we know how Prabhupada spoke about Dharma. It's a very deep understanding of reality. It's an axiomatic truth that cannot be denied. In the example before, everyone is actually serving. Nobody is a master. This conception that we are masters, that we can enjoy and that we can exploit material nature and that we can do whatever we want, this is a diseased condition of life. So everybody is serving in every circumstance. Even if we don't have the relationships with the people, or if we don't have the pet, the rich person, who goes down in Central Park with his doggy, and then he's collecting his stool and brushing him and giving him food. Even the rich person is serving a dog. Everybody is a servant. And so, in this way, we have to try to every day come closer and closer to this reality, because every other position that we might take in this material world is illusory. What will make the difference today in my life? Did I do something more to serve the devotees? Did I extend myself a little bit more to bring some good, to teach somebody, to live by the example of the acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, and all of his disciples who attained success, eternal glory, who dissipated the eternal glories of the Vedic knowledge around the world. They gave their life like this, easily. And they attained unmeasurable success. Did I take my devotional service seriously today? What am I doing in my daily life? That is what will make a difference. That is ultimately what will make us move away from the disease of me and mine, aham mameti. Nothing is really ours. Everything is owned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the more we move away from this conception, the more we engage in austerities, which will enable us to free our heart from all of these misconceptions, all of these anarthas that we have cultivated for millions of lifetimes. The more we will be able to open ourselves to the eternal reality, which means eternal relationship of service to the Supreme Transcendental Lord. And it's a reciprocal relationship. Krishna, he is the servant of his devotees. He doesn't just like to be served as a master and so forth. But no, Krishna, he is our friend, and he is the lover of the gopis, and the gopis are loving him, and there is always a reciprocation. So it's a very beautiful, very intimate relationship that we approach in the matter of serving the spiritual master, who is the transparent via media. So, how to reinforce this relationship even more and more? This is what we're trying to do every day, reconnecting back to Krishna. And one thing that really helps, Prabhupada gave an example personally. Prabhupada writes in the books so many times how helping other living entities to reconnect to Krishna or the principle of Jiva Doya, compassion, developing compassion and taking voluntary austerities to try somehow to make the others around us come closer to Krishna. Not just those who don't know anything in their current state or completely covered by ignorance, but also the devotees around us and also our family members. So yeah, compassion, very, very important. Until we develop this compassion, until we develop the understanding that there is a relationship between me, Krishna, but also the other living entities, because they're all part of the Supreme Whole. Until we develop that understanding and that compassion, then we won't be able to progress much in this miserable world. Mituna Prabhu yesterday posted something in the residence group, which is quite touching. It's quite alarming at the same time. There is this lady in the Netherlands who is scheduled to be, what was the term? Euthanized. It's probably the first time I'm hearing this term. She's going to get put to sleep. Why? Because she is desperate. She is suffering from mental health, from autism, and there are many people in the world who are suffering from these conditions. Some are more acute, some are less acute, but in her case, she's married, she has pets, I guess she has family, but it's something really sad to see. And this is basically the perfect example of the product of modern society. This is the product of impersonalism. People who are so disconnected, people who have become so impersonal, and victims of this modern abomination, and who have lost all hope for living. So they look for solution and they suicide. And now, apparently in the Netherlands, the government is giving facility for people like this to just get put to sleep. It's legal. Even in Switzerland, they're making these suicidal pods. Anybody can decide, I don't want to live anymore. So this shows also the immaturity of the governments to deal with these problems, because this is not the actual problem, but this is the symptom of the real problem, which is this impersonalism and this disconnection from the eternal and loving relationship with Krishna, disconnecting from the loving relationships of our beloved ones, our immediate family members, friends, and so forth. So these things, the more Kali Yuga progresses, these things will become more and more prominent, up to the point where people will start killing each other and cannibalizing. So it's a very sad reality, and this is also exemplifying how precious the work of the devotees are, never to diminish the devotional service of the devotees who have decided to dedicate their lives to save these type of rascals who are going to commit suicide. And this movement is the ultimate welfare activity. Ultimately, this will save the planet in every aspect, environmentally, economically, nationally, never to diminish. And Prabhupada, he had this urgency because he was was a Tattvadarshi. He was actually able to experience the supreme connection, the supreme love of Krishna. And he was seeing all these miserable people who are suffering in this precarious situation. So he was having this oceanic compassion. He was completely dedicated, helping all these living entities who are suffering so much. Even the happiness that we experience in this world there's no comparison. It's like a droplet in comparison to the vast Pacific Ocean. So there is nothing here in this world. The only thing that is here is devotional service to the Supreme Lord and helping the other living entities to get closer. And this is something that will enable us to skyrocket our devotional service and move away from this selfishness, from this mentality of, now I have waken up this day and let me just enjoy, let me just think about myself. This will never work. So we take example and we apply ourselves. His Holiness Suhodra Maharaj, when he was preaching in Bulgaria, we are very familiar with his mood and preaching because he spent a lot of time there and he also put his heart in his work. So he was able to influence many and make a transformation in their lives. So he gave his final instruction to the yatra, which is something very insightful, which I wanted to share with you. Then we'll open it up for questions. He told all of his disciples in Bulgaria, if you really want to please Srila Prabhupada, if you really want to please me and Srila Prabhupada, first class devotional service is distribute books, preach to the fallen conditioned souls. If you cannot do that, then find something that inspires you and become master of that. Give your life, whatever it is, cooking, engineering, become master and serve in that way. If you cannot do that, then the next thing was establish a deity worship in the center of Sofia, which is the capital city. Open a Radha Krishna temple. Radha Krishna like Radha Govinda, very opulent worship. Do that. Then the next thing is, if you cannot do all these things, at least try to contribute somehow, financially at least. Give something to the temple. Support the preaching devotees who have decided to give their lives to go out every day and try to preach to all of the fallen conditioned souls. If you cannot do all of these things, at least don't impede the Sankirtan mission of Mahaprabhu. At least don't criticize, don't blaspheme, don't try to sabotage the others who are already engaging in this movement that is the ultimate boon, that is the ultimate salvation for the entire world. So important. So I thought that's very, very interesting and very, very instructing for us. At least if we cannot do the best, then even Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a gradation. And at least don't impede. If you cannot do anything else, don't criticize. Don't disturb. Don't exercise your negligence. Don't disrespect. because this will not be tolerated by Krishna. Not showing up, being untruthful. What is the reason to our existence if we just say things and then we don't do it? Tomorrow, let's go out, let's do something. Let's organize this project, and then one doesn't show up, or mistakes everybody makes. The Kali Yuga is an ocean of mistakes. We're constantly making mistakes, but when one makes mistake and it becomes a pattern, when one is giving his word, but then he's not delivering, and if it becomes a habit, then how can you deal with such a person? It's very, very detrimental. How can you trust such a person? So it's very important to be truthful. It's very important to stand by our word, and at least if we cannot, at least we shouldn't be putting ourselves in a position where with our behavior we are impeding the Sankirtan movement. Yes, it's very important to understand this. By our negligence, by our laziness, if one cannot take up the austerity, one can go out and get married, can live in the world, work, fulfill his desires. Krishna, he's magnanimous, he gives to everybody. He doesn't mind if we have material desires, he will give. But ultimately, don't impede the Sankirtan movement. Don't be lazy, don't live in a society of Vaishnavas and be just negligent, confused, very important to understand. We shouldn't be impeding those who are giving their lives to worship Radha Govinda, to distribute the books, and so forth. This is what I wanted to share. And now, if somebody wants to ask a question or say a comment, reflection, now is the time. Come on, Krishna, say something. Janaki Mataji.
I was appreciating, you were talking about the fighter at the beginning, Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and stuff, and this example from the Netherlands of this lady who's depressed, and it reminded me something that my spiritual master said one time, and he was talking about how basically our whole life is this like boxing match, and we can expect that when we go in, and like all these like little things that happen that are painful or annoying or irritating or whatever our anarchas are pulling out, they're like the practice matches. So we can expect to get punched or like hit or whatever as we're practicing, but we need to learn how, when we feel that little pain, okay, how are we going to avoid it next time? And how are we going to, and if we find that each time we're getting punched, and we're not really getting better, we can kind of take that as a sign that if we're not winning the little practice matches, how will the in match be? How, at the time of death, when that punch comes, how will we actually be able to be successful and become champions? So it just reminded me of that.
Nice analogy. Yes. The school of hard knocks. Right? But is the school of hard knocks only if we're unable to listen? If we are just able to take example, listen to the instructions of the senior devotees, our spiritual masters, and the acharya of all the spiritual masters of the ISKCON movement. If we're just able to listen and learn from the mistakes of others by seeing, that will spare us so much time and so much headache. Of course, very rare to have first-class intelligence, but nevertheless, we should meditate on this point that our seniors, they can guide us. They've seen it all, done it all, and we can avoid so much turmoil and so much waste of energy if we just follow in their footsteps, just by listening to their words. Very important. Something that is very difficult. We see here in the West, people are so rebellious. Everybody wants to command, everybody wants to be a boss. Nobody wants to listen. And then, okay, try it out on your own. And then you get burned. And then you come to the same conclusion. So what was the use of all this experimenting? You know, just hear one time, and that's it. And then act upon. Much easier, much convenient, much practical, much more practical.
I just have one question.
Can you bring him the mic? This one.
Hare Krishna. So you were mentioning that Krishna is the servant of his devotees. So I just want to know, what is the difference between, as Sri Prabhupada says, we should not treat Krishna as our order supplier. So what is the difference between Krishna being the servant of his devotees and not treating Krishna as order supplier?
It's an intelligent question. Krishna is the servant of his devotees. So, is he our order supplier? What is the difference? Well, I guess the difference is that there is transactional dealings and pure dealings. Transactional religion is when we're approaching Krishna to give us our daily bread. And in this way, we're doing something for Krishna and he's doing something for us. But we are demanding that. That is our motivation. I'm becoming your friend, but we're friends because we play football together. You don't like football anymore? Fine on but in the other position, the devotee, he is giving up all other conceptions, jnana, karma, all of the desire for karma, for things to possess, to dominate, jnana, to know. Knowledge is power. That's why we want knowledge, because the more you know, the more you explore, the more you those who don't know, or mystical powers, crossing the Manhattan River, walking on that, or influencing people, can influence people's minds, these are mystical powers, flying, and so forth. So whenever the devotee is clean from those things, then that's a different type of relationship. It's no longer a transactional dealings. But no, I don't want anything. I just want to serve you out of complete love. And then Krishna is reciprocating in the same manner. So that is the difference. I don't know how to explain it enough. Maybe you can say something. Just like there's the pastime of Koloveja, who was a very poor Brahmana, and he was subsisting himself from selling bananas and banana leaves on a very reasonable price. He was very honest, even though others were, competing with him. He was still being humble and sustaining his family just enough. They were living in a broken hut made from leaves and sticks. His clothes were all torn and destroyed from war, so many bargaining for hours. And he was like, no, no, my price, no. It's like such a reasonable price, look at others' prices. And no, they were back and forth, and in the end he was surrendering everything to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu was coming every day, and he was like screaming, they had nothing to eat. And all the time he was surrendering because he was having transcendental pleasure in these exchanges, even though he wasn't knowing that's Krishna himself, but he was having such a fulfilling exchanges of immense visibility of everything. He never really wanted that. He never really wanted anything for himself. And then Krishna, he doesn't look at what we give to him ultimately. We can give him everything, but he will still look what are we holding back. That's what it is. He wants us to surrender everything. He wants us to become completely naked in front of him. And that is the complete reality for us. Everything less than that is illusion. If we maintain a desire that I'm going to serve Krishna to get something else, means that we are missing the whole point, because the supreme reality is the service itself to Krishna.
So I just have one more question.
Yes.
That, how do we understand that Krishna is the servant of his devotees? I mean, in what sense? Does it mean he's carrying out everything for his devotees? Then the next question comes, why only devotees? Why not all living entities? So why the statement Krishna is servant of only his devotees? Why not everyone?
He is serving of his devotees, why not servant of everybody else? He is serving everybody else also. The elephant in the jungle is also eating tons of vegetables and fruits every day. Who is serving? Nitya Nityanam Chetananas Chetanana. So, we're breathing air. Who is giving us the air? We are eating. People nowadays, they are very short-sighted. That's a symptom of lesser intelligence and lower moments. I'm going to lose my job. I lost my job. How am I going to survive my family? And I received a phone call yesterday. I was so lucky. They accepted me. I'll be able to work and earn money. It's luck. But what is this luck? Who's organizing all these things? Everybody's working, everybody's given a chance to work and sustain himself. So who's giving? So Krishna is serving unconditionally. He's already serving us. He's not asking anything. Because he already loves us unconditionally. And he even gave us this material world. This is our playground. Because we are mischievous kids. And we came here, we wanted to forget him. And out of his cosmos mercy, he created this matrix. Such a complicated, intricate prison. And this is service because we wanted it. So there you go. Proof. Krishna is serving every day, constantly. And he is serving flawlessly all the time. He doesn't make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time. Even when we advance devotional service, we can get influenced by Maya. We can offend somebody by mistake. Yeah. So always serve. Right? Yes. We're just in time to wrap it up. Thank you so much for resisting sleep. It's a great austerity. The demigods of knowledge. This is how we're helping the world. Resisting sleep during Bhāgavatam. Not a small thing. Tapasya, yeah. People might not realize, but keeping yourself awake, listening to the transcendental sound, to be able to be spiritually healthy, to go out, to meet the people. Not a small thing. That's how we're helping America. That's how we're helping America. So thank you. you so much. Grantaran Srimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Mahaprasādam ki jai. Go.
Jai. Jai. Gaur Brahmanande. Hari Hari Bol.